I may be a bit biased, but how great is our choir? Can you remember the last time you had a good laugh? What about the last time you had the uncontrollable giggles? It may have been even in this congregation, in this sanctuary, sitting next to Janet Wicks. There are some people you just shouldn't sit beside, or maybe there are definitely people you should always sit beside, depending on your perspective, of course. Or laugh so hard that your stomach hurt. Can you remember ever laughing so hard that your stomach literally hurt? Does laughter come easily for you? Well, that's a silly question in this congregation. I'm getting to the choir. Yeah, definitely a special case. What cracks you up? And what cracks you up may be different than what cracks somebody else up. But there is something shared in the bonding over laughter. Are you able to laugh at yourself with self-deprecating humor? Case in point, earlier in worship for me. And now for the choir. If you're in need of a little more humor in your life, if you're not getting quite enough laughter in your day, come join the choir on Thursday evenings. We've got 3 whole roles, plus our music director sitting here, of choir quippers that crack me up every single week. No fail. Oh my goodness. If you need to feel your spirits lifted on a Thursday night, you'll walk away from here feeling warm and good. This church is full of some of the funniest people I know. Can I get an amen to that? And if you're not convinced, you should follow a few people on Facebook. I'm just going to out them because they come up with the corniest memes. I just groan, and then I'm in uncontrollable laughter. And Angie will ask me, so was that from Pamela? Nancy Moffat? Rosemary? Or Chris Berry, who had the good sense not to be here today. He must have known that I was going to call him out. Things like, I'm just going to give you one of them. Don't yell into a colander because it may strain your voice. My jokes are so bad, they're funny. Well, they're funny because they eventually make Angie laugh by how much I crack up at my own stupid jokes. Is there anyone else like me out there that you crack up at your own stupid jokes? And it's good to have friends who will laugh with you. That's how you know you have true friends. And that's why you should be a part of a church because, we'll laugh with you, hopefully not at you. Except that there was a reader board sign on another church. Maybe we should put it up here. Don't let worry kill you. Let the church help. Oh, I love you. And then there's this one. A preacher was completing a temperance sermon with great passion. If I had all the beer in the world, I'd take it and throw it in the river. And with greater emphasis, he said, and if I had all the wine in the world, I'd take it and throw it where? In the river. He finished with this, and if I had all the whiskey in the world, I'd take it and throw it where? in the river. And then he sat down, finished his sermon. And the song leader then stood very cautiously and announced in deadpan, "Let us sing our closing hymn. Shall we gather at the river?" Oh, even applause. Oh my goodness. Laughter is one of the most visceral and visible expressions of joy. God created laughter and created us to laugh. Proverbs 31 speaks of those who have faith enough to laugh rather than worry about the future. Psalm 126 responds to the mighty works of God with mouths filled with laughter, tongues with shouts of joy. Although the Gospels are a bit more serious, Jesus promised in Luke 6:21, "Blessed are you who weep now, for you shall laugh." I think Jesus laughed and had a sense of humor. What do you think? Does God have a sense of humor? All you have to do is look back on your life and see the funny things where God pointed you. Well, there was something there. Oh, I'm not following it. Okay, I'm going straight down the road here. When Jesus rebuked the disciples who were trying to keep the children away from him, what did Jesus say? "Let the children come unto me." Would children have wanted to be near Jesus if he wasn't fun, if he didn't play and laugh? Everyone wanted Jesus to come to their dinner parties. Jesus spent time with folks who knew how to have a good time. And some of the parables Jesus told are deeply funny. Laughter and faith seem to go hand in hand. Archbishop Desmond Tutu is remembered and celebrated for his moral courage in protesting apartheid in South Africa. Yet he was also, despite the seriousness of his life's work, extremely funny. Those who met him describe him as a bundle of joy, a playful, lighthearted, even impish spirit who spread the gift of laughter wherever he went. 15 years ago, 2008, there was an event hosted by the Dalai Lama at Questfield. Actually, it was a week of meetings at the University of Seattle. It was called Seeds of Compassion. Angie and I had the privilege of sitting in the nosebleed seats of Questfield as the Dalai Lama held a gathering with Bishop Tutu. When the two spiritual giants, both in their 70s, came out on stage and took their seats, what I remember the most as they sat there, so far away, but you could feel the energy, it was palpable. They were just laughing and giggling. They would try to say something and then they would just break up into giggles. We spent probably 2-3 hours just watching and listening to them laugh and giggle. These two Nobel Peace Prize laureates call themselves mischievous brothers, and unlike many spiritual teachers who are more serious, these two model joyful practices as they smile, chuckle, embrace, hold hands, and laugh boisterously. There are other accounts of their time together in Seattle where they jumped up and down, embracing each other, laughing and touching each other like children on a playground. At one point, the Dalai Lama pushed Bishop Tutu back a couple of feet, and he looked at him, laughed, and said, "My goodness, you have gotten fat." I don't suggest you try this with anyone. But they both started laughing again, and Bishop Tutu, playfully shaking his finger at His Holiness, said, "Now, you start acting like a holy man." Again, there was joyful laughter by these two playful men. It was delightfully infectious. Beautiful moments of joyful expression. A few years ago, before Archbishop Desmond Tutu died, they co-wrote a book called The Book of Joy, Lasting Happiness in a Changing World. It's an instruction book on how to find hope, humor, and joy in a time of suffering. I don't know how many of you follow Stephen Colbert. I don't listen to him very often, but when I do, he has me in stitches. He's a comedian, and a couple years ago, Stephen Colbert talked about the intersection of his faith and his comedic writing. He's open and honest about the role of faith in his life. He says, "I am a Christian and a Catholic. Sadness is a little bit of an emotional death, but it is not a defeat if you can find a way to laugh about it, because laughter keeps you from having fear of it. If there's some relationship between my faith and my comedy, it's that no matter what happens, you are never defeated. You must understand and see this in the light of eternity and find some way to love and laugh with each other." Laughter is good for us for so many reasons. Humor plays an important role not only in our mental health, but also in healing conflict. Humor helps to find common ground in healing division because it has a mysterious way of disarming us. If you're laughing with someone whom you have perceived to be against you prior, and you're sharing a joke or a moment, it is bonding, and there is more love and warmth and healing available. People who go by the name of Christian can end up being too serious and intense. In our attempt to be faithful, we can feel responsible to fix every broken place in the world, and there is so much to lament. It's a heavy load to carry, but like the Dalai Lama and Archbishop Desmond Tutu, we are also capable of holding complex feelings, of grieving for the world and finding joy in the present moment. Have you ever found that laughing and crying are two sides of the same coin, and both can be healing? Our laughter can be evidence of deep care for the people and the world around us. Sometimes laughter and joy is closely woven with our grief, where our grief and our joy, they often mingle together. Reminding us that we are fully human. Have you ever found yourself at a memorial service and grief overcomes you and tears are rolling down your face as you remember the life of this beloved person, and you're overcome with grief? And then in the very next moment, find yourself laughing by a story that somebody told about this person. I have been to countless memorial services where one moment I'm crying with grief and loss, and the next I'm laughing so hard that I can no longer determine whether my tears on my face are from sadness or from laughing so hard. There is deep folk wisdom in the saying, sometimes you've got to laugh to keep from crying, because laughter and tears, somehow they abide in the same emotional place. Laughter and finding humor doesn't mean that we are not taking our responsibilities seriously. Laughter can also be healing for us. It's like a salve, a balm that can offer shared stress relief. It can literally soothe physical and social tension. When we are overcome with laughter, it can lift our burdens and take a weight off of our shoulders. Not taking ourselves too seriously can relax us into a deeper sense of belonging to God, as well as belonging to one another, and give us a deeper sense of joy and gratitude. Laughter is also scientifically proven to have healing effects on our physical and mental health. Laughter is good medicine when you are stressed, when you are sick, or when you are discouraged or depressed. And laughter can feel good. The physical sensations of laughter make us feel buoyant, uplifted, and joyous. It boosts our immune system. It helps to stimulate organs such as the heart, lungs, and diaphragm. It increases our oxygen intake and stimulates the brain to release endorphins. It can relieve muscle tension and stress. It also helps to cool off the fight or flight stress response and creates an increased sense of wellness in the release of muscular tension that we hold. These are nature's own feel-good chemicals and are responsible for helping to keep your mood uplifted. Studies out of Harvard Medical School and the Mayo Clinic confirm that nothing works faster or more dependably to bring your mind and body back into balance than a good laugh. And the Mayo Clinic says laughing to relieve stress is no joke. Christian writer and essayist Anne Lamott writes, humor, laughter, silliness, and giggles can get into some dark, walled-off place inside of us and bring lightness. When I am at my most stressed, I sometimes lose my sense of humor, and that condition is just a nightmare. For me, hell is when I'm absolutely stuck in self-obsession. This terrible, terrible self-consciousness. Healing and grace often comes from being put back together by people who somehow help me lighten up and get my sense of humor back. When I have my sense of humor back, nothing can stop me. Lamott describes humor and laughter as carbonated holiness. Get that image in your head. Carbonated holiness. Imagine the gift of laughter as a bubbly, refreshing drink of God's grace, something always available to us, just waiting to nourish and renew us, body and soul. There's another comedian who wouldn't call himself a comedian, but every time I've heard him speak, about half a dozen times now, I have tears rolling down my face from his poignant stories, and then tears of laughter from making me laugh so hard my stomach hurts, even if I've heard all the stories before. His name is Father Greg Boyles. Father Boyle is the founder and executive director of Homeboy Industries, an innovative nonprofit that provides services for former gang members and ex-felons with a program that provides life skills, jobs, and hope to thousands. It is deliberately overstaffed by employees with criminal records who have been incarcerated and who have little to no job experience. Homeboy's commercial enterprises still manage to make a profit. Homeboy Industries now has a bakery, a silk screening plant, tattoo removal, which is very popular, special events catering, Homeboy chips and salsa at Ralph's, a Homeboy diner at City Hall, and if you ever fly into LAX, they have a Homeboy cafe and bakery, and recently solar panel installation training. Young men from rival gangs sweep floors and clean windows with an enthusiasm seldom applied to menial labor, and they laugh at one another's jokes. At the Homegirl Cafe, Father Boyle tells this story. Homegirl Cafe occupies a corner of the headquarters, and waitresses who'd been in gangs or incarcerated take breakfast orders from cops. One day, Diane Keaton came in. Her server, a former gang member Boyle refers to as Glinda, told her that she recognized her. Diane Keaton chalked it up. She didn't tell her she's a movie star. She just chalked it up to having one of those familiar-looking faces. And then Glinda says, "Oh, now I know how I know you. We were locked up together." And then Father Boyle, he writes these stories in his books. His books are so great. They will make you cry, they will make you laugh, and then they will make you cry again. And he says, "The homies in 30 years have taught me so much in humility and fidelity. There's a homie named Joey, about 30 years old. He's our speaker that we take to high schools, and he's pretty good at it. Much in demand, very popular. And Joey was giving me tips on how to speak publicly. Now you need to know, Father Boyle is a priest, and he's been doing this work for 30 years. He goes out and speaks to audience of several thousands, and Joey was giving Father Boyle tips on how to speak publicly. And Joey said, G, that's what the homies call Father Boyle, G. G, you gotta pepper your talk with self-defecating humor. To which Father Boyle, G, replies, "No shit." That's some good advice there. Oh, it's a good thing I'm leaving in a few months. I don't know if I could stay in this pulpit much longer. I might get tossed out. Father Boyle often includes these words somewhere in the midst of making us laugh, making us cry, or at the end. The measure of our compassion lies not in our service of those on the margins, but only in our willingness to see ourselves in kinship with the people on the margins. May we stand in awe at what the poor have to carry rather than stand in judgment at how they carry it. There are times when laughing is brave defiance, a dare to the darkness and devastation in our lives. Laughter can be a bright act of rebellion and subversiveness. May we tend to our joy as much as we tend to our grief. May we make room for new outlets of joy and contentment so that our spirits might be ready to lean into empathy and compassion and kinship where it is needed. May we hear God's invitation to lean into what makes us laugh and use it as a way of connecting with meaning in our lives and exploring what we care about. May our grief and joy mingle together, reminding us that we are fully human and fully capable of holding complex feelings during a complex time of life. May we find people to care with, people to cry with, people to laugh with, knowing that it is a great gift when we find all three in the same person. Let us look for the wonder. Let us look for the humor in life. Amen. Walter Farquharson wrote these beautiful words sung to a very familiar tune. Let us sing, "Give to Us Laughter."